Guys, I have a special one for you today. This story is about a mama's boy and how his girlfriend just can't cope with it anymore. This is the second time now. Getting cheated on has led to me being dumped. At least this time it wasn't totally baffling. First time can be read about on my profile, but also to my followers waiting on the end results of creepy lunger. The court date set for July, and I'll update you after that, but this is not that story. So, I've been dating this guy for about 4 months now. He's not my usual type, and he's very naive and sheltered. Whereas my life has been a joyous ride of how in the name of flapjacks did I survive that BS. He's nice and funny. We met at university, and for the most part it was fine. There were a few red flags, like his mom still irons and folds his undies and socks. But let's be real, people in their early 20s living at home is not even a shocking thing anymore. I just think it's a bit psychotic to iron socks, but hey, that's just me. Anyways, on Saturday he went out for a lads' night with his friends. He hooks up with a girl. They have sex, and yesterday she messaged me on Facebook to basically say, "Hey, sorry, I was drunk and slept with your boyfriend. I had no idea he was in a relationship. I'm sorry." Well, I was fine with it, though it was nice for her to reach out and let me know. She was really cool. We chatted for a bit and decided to go grab a Costa together on Thursday. I like talking to her, and well, we have a lot in common. This is completely platonic. I mentioned in my last post, monogamy isn't really my thing. Unless we've had a discussion and agreed to be monogamous, I do not care. I don't tend to sleep with people in general. I have a low sex drive due to pure exhaustion and cancer. So, if you want it and I'm not up for it, go get it somewhere else. I don't care. Just use condoms and don't be with the same person multiple times, because there's a difference between casual and multiple relationships. He gets home and I casually mention she messaged me and we've been talking, and reassure him I don't mind that he slept with someone else. Just would prefer in the future he wears a condom in hopes she would not mind getting tested before we sleep together again. He was fine with all that and was really surprised with how well I took it. But I had discussed my feelings on monogamy with him before we started dating, so it wasn't a massive shock, like it was to the last guy. Then I make an offhanded joke, saying, "Hey, next time you decide to sleep with a hot girl, let me know, and if I'm up for it, maybe we can turn it into something else." Ugh. It was said jokingly, and I was 100% joking about the threesome, and then he said, "Why would you want to sleep with another girl?" Well, this is where the overall stupidity kicks in. I remind him I'm bisexual, and he says exactly what it says in the title, with a really confused face. "You're still bi? I thought you outgrew that when you started dating." He follows up with, "My mom said you would because bisexuality is just a phase." I face planted, threw my hands to my forehead so hard my butt jiggled from the force of the slap. It was just ridiculously stupid for a 24-year-old male in 21st century Britain to be saying these kind of things. Dude, I know you're naive, but do you not watch TV? Do you not go on social media? What in the name of RuPaul do you think sexuality is at 24 to think bisexuality is a phase? I didn't know what to say. I stood looking at him like he just sprouted another head out of his armpit. And may I point out, this guy is doing a BSc in sociology, and of course I did for undergraduate, and know that sexuality and gender are two things very much covered in any sociology course. Well, I was floored. It took me a few minutes to regain my composure, and I realized I had two options. Laugh at the sheer ridiculousness of a 24-year-old male having not only discussed my sexuality with his mom, but had believed her when she told him I'd grow out of it. Or I could try to explain sexuality to an adult sociology student. I knew the status of my relationship was at stake with whatever decision I made. I contemplated hard, and then I laughed. I laughed so hard my bladder nearly burst. Sorry, not the mature decision, but you know what? I don't care. It was freaking hilarious. He'd said it was such an honest, innocent mistake. Look, I can live with his mom ironing his socks. I can live with his mom still buying his clothes and taking him to get a haircut. Because honestly, I have my own shortcomings, and if he can tolerate those, I can tolerate his. But I will not live with someone being so clueless about sexuality. Maybe I'm the entitled one here. Maybe I have too higher expectations of people, but I don't know. He, of course, got mad that I laughed at him and started shouting, and I kid you not. He managed to fit "my mom says that," and "but my mom is" into one 45-ish second monologue 7 times. I'll do a lot of things for love, but I won't compete with Mummy. Frankly, I just didn't feel enough for him to even try. He grabbed his backpack, called his mom to come get him, and left. That night, after chatting with the girl he slept with and laughing some more, that his mother sent me this text. "I cannot believe you would humiliate my son like that, you selfish, stupid little witch. You're a fat, ugly girl who is using bisexuality as an excuse to do what you want to do. I know your type, and you've just thrown away the best thing you'll ever have with my son. My son deserves way better than a fat little girl like you. We'll be coming tomorrow to get the rest of his things from your house, and I'll be bringing my brother to deal with you if you try and pull anything. He knows how to deal with trash. If you try and steal anything, I'll call the police. You had better be there when I get there, or else." So yeah. Not only did his mother break up with him for me, though I pretty much expected the breakup, she also called me some lovely names. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there. I texted her back asking what time she'd be coming, ignoring everything else, and she did not respond. No way in Hades was I waiting around all day for this lunatic. Her brother and son turn up for his laptop, toothbrush, and some random bits of clothes. This brings me to the morning. I'd popped all his stuff into a bag and left it by the front door, except his laptop, which was on the table next to the front door, just because I did not want it to break. I do the school run for my sister every morning because she doesn't drive. Off we go at 8:20. We drop my gorgeous little nephew off at school at 8:50, get home for 9:30, having stopped at the shop on the way home, as my sister needed to pick up a few bits for the boyo. Guess who's there waiting outside my front door? If you'd guessed the tantruming trio, you'd be right. Ding, ding, ding. If you guessed the police, ding, ding, you'd also be right. Most logical people would say, she's not home. Guess we'll have to wait and come back later. Entitled mom with serious emotional issues. She's not in. We should break into her house. I get there and this girl's handcuffed in the back of the police car. My double-glazed stained glass window pane that has a rose decoration broken into sections by bits of metal looks as though it's gone through 3 rounds with a rock. Because it had. And my ex's uncle shouting at the officer that I'm a thief, and they were just coming to get what was my ex's. The officer reminds him even if they were trying to retrieve his property, breaking and entering is a crime. So, the police officer then approaches me and says, "Good morning, miss. This gentleman says you've arranged for them to come collect his young man's possessions this morning. Is that true?" I replied with, "No. Ex's mom sent me this message last night." Show him the phone. And did not reply with time, but X knows I do the school run every day, so not sure why they chose now. The officer reads over my phone text, calls over his colleague, and they go over to the witch in handcuffs. They ask said witch, "What do you mean when you told this girl your brother will deal with her?" Witches started to babble, brother got very quiet, and X just looked lost. Also, brother's basically the same height as me, and I have more fat in one butt cheek than he does in his entire body. So I could have definitely taken him. I'm just completely bemused at this point. The officers come back over and explain because she was caught in the act by police of attempting to break into my house. I do not have a choice about pressing charges and ask if I'd like to add harassment and making threats to that list. Well, I'm in the middle of a court case already due to that story I mentioned in the beginning with a certain lunger, and really don't have the mental capacity right now, so I decline. They take pictures of the damage, not that there was much. I'd give them X's stuff so he can leave and they go on their merry way. Once I clean the window, there's a tiny crack on the outside glass that did not affect the front pane. I'm now 15 stone lighter and getting a little flirty with the girls he slept with on Saturday. What I'm taking away from this relationship, if Mommy irons his undies regardless of age, run. Run fast and far, and preferably with a pretty brunette in the future. Hope you enjoyed and wish me luck for tomorrow for maybe not so platonic Costa with the girl he quote cheated on me with. What's up guys, Mr. Reddito here. I'm excited to announce there's multiple updates for this story, and if you think that it's juicy now, just wait for the drama that's about to unfold. Guys, here's update number 1, which came out 2 days after the original post. As those who read my first thread will remember, my delightful ex-boyfriend had, what I now know, to be pretty lousy sex with a lovely brunette on Saturday of last week. She messaged me on Tuesday, having found out through the Book of Faces that we're a couple, and apologized for sleeping with my man. Well, it wasn't an issue. I'm not really monogamous, and she was hot. I got why he went there. We got chatting and decided to meet up at Costa on Thursday and spent most of Tuesday and Wednesday chatting. She lived for the psycho mama drama that I got hit with when ex-beau's mommy broke up with me for him. After I laughed at him for thinking his adequately sized man stick would cure me of my bisexuality, Mother Dearest then attempted to break into my house in the dumbest way possible, and got herself some shiny new metal bracelets. Reason it was dumb, you might ask? Well, first of all, something I had forgotten about. X knows the combination to my key safe, so he could have legitimately just let himself into my house, got his belongings from the front door and left. No harm, no foul. Second, the layout of my front door, well, there's a door with a lovely rose design with a metal crossing in it. Next to my front door is an ordinary glass window the same size as my door. This genius of a woman attacked my door window, not the window next to it. The delightful gentleman that came to assess my window said that had she attacked the window, not the door window, she'd have broken through easily. The door, though, has reinforced glass. Third, I only learnt about it this yesterday, Mother of the Year, took a bite out of the police officer, so bye-bye, Mommy, see you in 5 to 7 months. From what I was told during my date, Mommy has earned a nice little ankle bracelet until court. I'm not sure of the exact details, but hey, not my circus. So, now we get to the nitty-gritty. The date itself. Everything was fine, she looked beautiful. I looked, well, like me. I got the new Aero Caramel Hot Chocolate, she got a cappuccino. We sat down, my back to the door, and a few minutes in, she lets out this adorable little half-gasp, half-chortle. She's staring behind me, so I whip myself around and guess who I see. If you guessed the Great Bye Slayer, you'd be right. If you guessed Uncle Baguette, you'd also be right. I told X about my meeting with Brunette, and he decided, in his infinite wisdom, to come along and try to reason with me. I look back at the date. She's excited. We had already established that she's a drama chick, and this was already better than anything that you could imagine in a soap opera. X comes over and the conversation goes something like this. So, X, me, Brunette, Uncle Baguette. Those are the 4 involved. Hey, can we talk, says my ex. Hey, I don't think we have anything to talk about. Oh, we need to talk about us. There's no us. You broke up with me. That's when the brunette chirps in. Well, technically his mother did, hee. Yeah, but I'm not controlled by my mother. I should have a say about our relationship. Our relationship's over. Your say became irrelevant when you let your mother attempt to smash my door in. That's when Uncle chimes in with an angry tone. She was only trying to protect him from you stealing his stuff. QI roll from me and Brunette. Look, baby, we both made mistakes. Can't we just go somewhere and talk about this together? No, says Brunette. You can't. She's moved on, and if you don't mind, you're disturbing our date. Well, at this point, X looked like he'd just been slapped. The uncle looked like he wanted to slap me, and I was just done. That's when my ex asked, "Oh, this is a date? I thought you were just hanging out." So Brunette replies for me. Well, yeah, turns out your magical stick failed to knock the gay out of me, so we figured why not. Thanks for giving me such a glowing recommendation, by the way. I kid you not. She said in the most smuggest voice possible while I tried not to choke on my marshmallows. Not a euphemism. X stammered, stuttered, and just kind of blinked a lot. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. So the uncle at this point raging like it was a cartoon, steam would be coming out of his ears. But being the smart little breadstick he is, he kept quiet and threw us a look that Sheldon Cooper would have been envious of. Honestly, I kind of feel bad for poor X. He's got a lunatic for a mother and a stickman for an uncle, and really no clue what the real world's like. He's just kind of exists in his sock iron bubble. At this point, I knew it was time to go before things escalate. My darling drama-digging date had provoked Uncle Chopstick enough, and I just had no more time for these people. I stand up, politely said excuse me to Uncle Dearest, despite his clearly fury. Properly trained British people tend to break out in hives if they aren't a little polite. I once had a meltdown because the random driver must think I'm so atrociously rude for not waving back to him after he let me pass. Honestly, it haunts me to this day. Anyways, we leave and decide to go get fish and chips from the beachfront and have a lemon-topped Mr. Whippy. It was at that point we were about to drive home when, well, my phone exploded. Not literally, of course, that'd be terrifying. But the warrior beast had awoken by her precious boy's despair. Dun dun dun. It was basically the same as yesterday's names, I'm not going to go into them, more name calling. Some lovely, I'm going to destroy your worthless lives were thrown in there, and I'm going to burn your house down. She's on ankle monitors because of me. I've ruined her precious little Didum's life. He's a broken shell of a man. I'm an evil harpy from hell. And, well, the worst one that she could say, I hope the cancer kills me. This is literally goes on just for 2 hours, and I switch my phone to silent and mostly ignore them, though we do check ever so often to see if they're still coming. Then she said the one thing that really made me see red. She said she hopes my nephew dies. I saw blood. If Brunette hadn't been with me, I think I'd gone to her house and made necklaces out of her teeth. After some soothing words from Brunette, I called the lovely boy in blue that I'd spoken to the previous day, explained what was going on, and decided, despite the overall exhaustion I'm likely going to feel, I'm pressing charges for harassment. And I think he called it malicious communication. Who knows? I'm sure I'll find out soon. He came by once we were back at my place, went through my phone, diddled with some stuff, and said I'd have to come to the station on Monday to do other stuff I'm not quite clear on. Honestly, while all this was going on, it felt like angry lioness was prowling around inside me, ready to jump on the neck of the next thing that approached. Same feeling I got when my nephew came home from school crying because a boy in his class threw away his crystal, and now he couldn't find it. I was legit ready to throw down with a 4-year-old. Instead, I bought my nephew 16 new crystal necklaces. My recently departed Nana told him crystals heal, so he's become obsessed with having one on him at all times. He keeps that thing on him. I think it's a grief response. He'll sit there and talk to her ashes while holding his crystal. It's cute, but also a little creepy. He's been teaching her how to play the PlayStation recently, and I think we need to get him a therapist. Or a dog. You'd think it's over. All of it, right? Well, She's got the police after her. X knows I'm over it. What is more there to be done? Darling, we forgot about the walking beanpole. What's the best way to get back at someone your family's currently harassing for calling the police? Oh, slash their tires, of course. Well, those reading creepy lunger will remember my nifty dashcam. It's motion activated. Now he's been arrested too. Emotionally weird mommy has been arrested. X tried to message me again this morning, which quite cruelly I replied with, "Oh, go crawl back to your mommy. Leave me the hell alone," before promptly blocking him, and all is right in the world. As for me and Brunette, you might ask? I'm not sure. It depends on how much drama her soul needs to survive. If she's someone that creates it to fulfill their own daily drama doses, she'll be gone. Out of here. But for now, she's currently in the living room cuddling with my cat. I'll let you know if things go once our first date ends. Next update, 11 days later. Okay, before I get into this, trigger warning. Well, you said it wasn't over, and boy, you were right. Here's the warning. Horses were killed in the making of this update. I'm going to try and keep it as upbeat as possible, but I've got to warn you, Uncle's update gets dark. I'm leaving him until the very end, so if you're a horse person, maybe stop before, well, yeah. Where we last left off. My tires were slashed by Uncle Groot. Mumsy was arrested for multiple things, mostly just being a lunatic with emotional issues. Oh, and assault. And X had been told to, quote, go crawl back to his mommy and leave me the hell alone. So what more could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Well, here's a catch-up on what happened in the last 11 days. We shall start with Momma since it's the shortest. Momma went to the big house, decided it wasn't for her, and tried to check out by purchasing something I'm not too privy to and ODing. Either that or she thought, quote, when in Rome, do drugs. Someone's carried up their butt. And let me tell ya, it was not proper drugs. She's currently in the hospital. I do not have a massive amount of details on what's what or what will happen next when she's discharged, as the police have mentioned psychiatric evaluation, which is desperately needed, and I agree. Despite everything, I wish her well and hope she gets the help she desperately needs, or the attention she craves, whatever it is. Do I believe it was a genuine suicide attempt? Well, not personally, but I was also raised by a narcissist, so I'm always skeptical about narcissistic attempts on their life. Regardless, I hope she gets help. How do I know about Mama's OD, you might ask? Well, Wonder Kid showed up on my doorstep on Saturday, drunk as a skunk. Ended up spending the night in my spare room. He was completely blotted. He went through the entire drunk scale. One might say he was angry. Then he was telling me how much he still loved me. Then he was suggesting a threesome with Bree. And then he passed out on the spare bed. Brunette and I rolled him over and put a Kylie sheet under him to keep the mattress protected in case an accident bladder release, and left him be. Sunday morning comes and he was not alright. The events of Uncle Butthead happened the day after Mama's OD, so X was pretty overwhelmed. Look, X is like a chick that's fallen from his nest. He doesn't know how to fly yet, doesn't know how to feed himself, and without someone to look after him, he'd probably be eaten by a cat. I feel for him, I really do. He's just kinda got caught in his mother and uncle's bat crap craziness. He has made mistakes for sure, and so have I. He's so innocent. I shouldn't have gone there with him, to be honest. We were never compatible, but I was grieving and he was nice. He's got no choice not to be a mama's boy now and is spinning out of control. We found him a counselor online because our university services have a long waiting list. He honestly truly believed his mother would sort everything for her precious baby boy. He honestly thought Uncle would do what he did. He cried a lot, and B and I did our best to console him, but his life has been more or less torn apart by all this. He's thinking of transferring his credits down south so he can live with his sister. She's a genuinely mature adult who's in North Carolina with Momma for a reason. She'd be good for him, but that's his journey. I wish him well, and believe me, sober. The amusement that his ex and his one-night stand were together had him laughing despite the madness. I think he's now had some time away from the devil on his shoulder. He's starting to see some sense. I can only hope the best from here on out. So, Brunette and I, well, we're together. She's crazy, I'm crazy, we both have terrible taste in men, it just works. It's still only like 2 or 3 weeks in, but it's nice and relaxing. She's not as dramatic seeking as I'd feared. She enjoys drama as much as I do, but she's pretty level-headed and kind. We shall see. I'm not holding out for a happily ever after, but she makes me feel sexy again, which is a feat, as anyone going through cancer treatment will tell you. For now, she's what I need, and my cats like her. I've not introduced her to my nephew, though. I'm sure many people will be happy to hear nephew's in therapy. And would be doing fine right now if he didn't have the chicken pox. Poor baby looks like he's lost a fight with a beehive. Thankfully, all us adults had them as kids and are safely unaffected, though I start to itch every time I look at him. Alright guys, here's the final update, and sadness warning ahead is the uncle's update part. Uncle Brain Damage was charged and released. He made a deal to pay me back for the tires in full and took it because I'm broke. A university student and I need money. It would have taken way too long to get the money back going through courts, so it just seemed easier. He's now in custody, so let's get on with that part of the story. I have older brothers, they're basically useless lumps of men who ride horses and play PlayStation. It's gotten to the point where if they aren't attached to a remote or a horse, I don't recognize them. They be small, cause they're jockeys. Fun fact about jockeys. They're freakishly strong for such tiny humans. So, Uncle Whippet decides that if he can't take his beef up with me, he's going to take it up with my brothers, because he's clearly a mature gentleman, not on a high school student dropout. Did I mention that this tall glass of water, old water, is in his 40s? But being the coward he is, he's not going to confront 2 small freakishly strong gamers. Oh no. The Great Intelligence decides that whilst my brothers were riding out with a bunch of other riders coming back from the gallops, to drive up behind them and start blaring his horn. Now, for those who don't know this basic information, you do not do that. Horses get startled very easily, buck, kick, and generally run for dear life when scared. If you do this from the front, maybe since they can see you, they'd be scattery but controllable, or they'd be freaked out. These weren't yearlings, so they're used to being on the road. But coming up from behind and basically scaring the hell out of them is a big no-no. A sad fact about horses, broken legs are extremely hard to heal. You have to suspend a horse for weeks in a stable and basically stop them from doing anything they do. It's difficult, time-consuming, and, well, expensive. That's if surgery's even able to realign the bone. For professional horse racers, most of the time, it's just not viable to keep them alive after a break. Oh, this was the case for one of the horses startled in the process of this disgusting moron's revenge. He ran, sunk into a ditch on one side, went down, and, well, it was over. The local vet came and put him down on the side of the road. From the little I got from my very devastated brothers, the bone was showing and moving him would have been torture. I've not asked for any more details. I do know that had the police not gotten to this useless bag of bones, he'd probably have been compost. I live in a very horsey community. The only thing worse than hurting a horse is hurting a child. And you better believe it's a don't think, just run, and put as many miles between you and this town as possible situation if you do. By some stroke of grace, none of the riders were seriously injured. One girl dislocated her shoulder, but that was about as serious as it got. Uncle Dirtbag has been charged with a number of things, including dangerous driving, attempted murder, and animal cruelty. You don't live around here without knowing how to act around horses, you just don't. Currently, there's a wait time on that, and I'll have basically nothing to do with it. He did apparently say something about wouldn't have to come after her brothers if she wasn't such a jerk. But that's third or fourth hand, so I can't tell you. As you can imagine, I'm horrified by this entire thing and devastated for the horse. I truly regret not going for full charges, but he likely would have been out either way, so not sure it would have made a big difference. No blowback has come to me about this. My brothers are just extremely angry that I did not tell them about everything in the first place. Who knew they could get so overprotective? The brother bears are definitely prowling now. And that's everything up until now. Sorry if it's not lighthearted tale of woes everyone was expecting, but even I can't make what's happened funny. It's just been one of those few weeks, and I'm mentally too exhausted to try. But alas, I doubt it's the end, so I will update if anything more occurs. And maybe if you're all extra nice, I may regale with you some stories of my own entitled narcissistic of a mother and her antics. Small highlights include the time she was caught shoplifting from charity because she needed more, the time she took us on a holiday on her ex's card, then was shocked, a shocked little Pikachu, when he kicked her out, or the time Santa died. For now, as Porky would say, that's all, folks.